Let's be honest about where we are.
You are standing in the middle of a blackened, desolate rupture in the Earth's crust, the Reykjanes Peninsula. This is the Mid-Atlantic Ridge, one of the rare places on Earth where two tectonic plates are pulling apart in geological real time. To the uninitiated eye, this looks like the aftermath of a war between the gods. And quite frankly, the gods lost. It is a moonscape of jagged, hostile rock. And yet, right in the center of this geological wreckage, there is a glowing, milky azure anomaly, a body of water that defies the chromatic logic of the landscape. It looks like a glacial tear, or perhaps a pool of spilled alien fuel. This is the Blue Lagoon, or as the locals call it, the Blowa Lonith. Now, you have seen the photos. The influencers gazing wistfully into the middle distance, the steam rising perfectly to frame their cheekbones, the hashtag blessed. But to approach this place merely as a spa is to engage in a superficial reading of a profoundly complex industrial accident. Yes, you heard me. This is not a natural hot spring. It is not a primordial pool discovered by Vikings looking for a place to wash their axes. This is a techno-natural hybrid. It is a paradox incarnate. It is a place where the wastewater of a geothermal power plant has been alchemically transmuted into a healing elixir. Wellness from waste, beauty from a mistake. To understand this place, you have to look past the beautiful blue surface and stare directly into the machinery of the 20th century. The story begins in 1976. Iceland was chasing energy independence. The engineers looked at the steaming ground of the Reykjanes Peninsula and saw salvation. They built the Svartsengi power plant, that brutalist metallic cathedral you see in the distance, dedicated to harnessing the heat of the earth. You can hear the machinery before you can place it, a low electric hum that vibrates in the basalt. The steam eats the distance here. The plan was pragmatic. They drilled down 2,000 meters into the crust. They went looking for steam, and they found a superheated ocean. They tapped into a reservoir of geothermal seawater, a cocktail of ocean water and fresh water cooked by magma to 240 degrees Celsius. The air here tastes like minerals and impatience. They bring this fluid up. They run it through the heat exchangers to warm up fresh water for the city pipes. And then, well, they had to get rid of the brine. This is where the mistake becomes architecture. The engineering assumption was standard. The lava fields are porous. They are like a sponge made of rock. The engineers thought, we will just dump the brine onto the lava field and it will seep back into the earth. Ashes to ashes, water to water. But the chemistry of the deep earth had other plans. You see, this fluid is rich in silica. Underground, under immense pressure, the silica stays dissolved. But the moment you bring it to the surface, the moment it cools, that silica precipitates. It turns from a liquid solute into a white, colloidal mud. That is when the ground stopped being porous and started being a bowl. When they dumped this brine onto the lava field, it didn't drain. It hardened. The silica filled the pores of the lava. It created a natural cement. It sealed the earth shut. The water, refusing to return to the underworld, began to pool on the surface. The plant operators looked at this growing, milky pond and thought, well, that is a problem. It was an environmental error. For years, it sat in the shadow of the cooling towers, murky and steaming. The locals stayed away. They called the lava field Tíoróin. That translates to evil lava. Think about that. A name dating back to the 13th century, warning farmers that this land breaks legs and kills sheep. And now, it was holding a pool of industrial runoff. And then came the first bather. His name was Valur Margeirsson. The year was the early 1980s. Valur was a young man suffering from severe psoriasis. His skin was inflamed, painful, scaling. He looked at that waste pool sitting in the evil lava, and he didn't see poison. He saw possibility. Imagine the desperation. Imagine the intuition. Against the advice of the community, who thought he was insane to bathe in power plant effluent, Valur waded in. He immersed his body in the silica mud and the brine. He bathed in the shadow of the turbines. And the results were empirical. His symptoms vanished. The unique cocktail of silica, algae, and minerals soothed the inflammation. It was a cure before it was a spa. Wellness from waste, beauty from a mistake. Word spread, other sufferers began sneaking into the waste pond. It transitioned from a space of disposal to a space of vernacular medicine. And from there, well, the trajectory is staggering. From a hole in the ground to Time magazine's World's Greatest Places list. Yes, really. So why is it blue? You are standing there, looking at it, and it feels electric. It still looks like that alien fuel I mentioned earlier, but it isn't dyed. This is the Tyndall effect. The water is full of those silica particles. They act as a colloid. When sunlight hits the water, the silica scatters the shorter wavelengths of light, the blue and the violet, much more efficiently than the red. Because our eyes are lazy at seeing violet, we perceive this intense neon blue. But notice the shift. If the sun goes behind a cloud, the blue deepens. If the algae blooms, it turns green. And when the silica concentration spikes, the blue collapses into that milky, otherworldly white. It is a living color, dictated by physics, not paint. And the season edits the experience. In winter, this becomes a steam labyrinth where distance collapses. In summer, the midnight sun turns the water into a neon hallucination. Now, before you get in, I have the anthropologist's survival guide. This is a poly-extreme environment. It is benevolent to the spirit, but it is chemically aggressive to the artifact. First, your hair. People learn about lagoon hair the hard way. If you dip your head under that water without protection, the minerals coat the hair shaft and stiffen it. It won't burn your hair off, but it will turn it into a dry, matted structure that feels like a straw broom for weeks. The protocol is simple. Leave-in conditioner, gallons of it. Apply it before you enter, and keep your head above water unless you want to look like a scarecrow. Second, your eyes. Contacts plus silica equals sandpaper. The water is full of microparticles. If that silica gets between your lens and your cornea, it is agonizing. Wear glasses. Go blind. Just don't wear contacts. Third, the jewelry. That smell? You are slowly getting used to it, but it still hits you like a wall. That is hydrogen sulfide. It smells like rotten eggs, but we call it medicinal. That gas loves silver. It oxidizes instantly. Leave the family heirlooms in the locker. Same rule for electronics. The steam here carries salt and silica. It will fog, corrode, and quietly ruin cameras and phones. Now you have to face the gatekeeper. The shower is the real border control. The naked imperative is the most significant cultural barrier in Iceland. You cannot walk into any pool here dry, and you cannot shower in your swimsuit. The hygiene protocol depends on turnover and strict showering. If you try to skip this, if you try to be modest and shower in your trunks, you are simply the liability, a dirty tourist. It violates the sacred contract of the pool. In the shower room, all status markers are gone. No Rolexes, no designer clothes, just human biological reality. It is a leveling mechanism. You enter the water equal. Once you are in, the sensation is haptic. 37 to 39 degrees Celsius, thermal neutrality. You feel wombed. The texture is silky, almost oily, thanks to the algae, a little species called Cocomixa. It coats your skin. And then there is the mud mask. You reach into the buckets, you smear that white silica paste on your face. And as it dries, it tightens. It turns your face into a statue. You look around, and everyone looks like a tribe of white-faced ghosts floating in blue milk. It is a memento mori, a brief moment of rigor mortis before you rinse it off and are reborn. While you float there, suspended in this industrial runoff, remember that you are in a landscape of extremes. This place is a magnet for the alien gaze. Hollywood loves it. Eli Roth used it in Hostel Part 2. Nothing says relaxing vacation like a horror movie about hedonism and death, right? But dig deeper. The folklore here is heavy. The lava field, the evil lava, is the habitat of the Huldufólk, the hidden people, the elves. You might laugh, but Icelandic construction projects are sometimes halted to avoid disturbing elf rocks. These beings live in the parallel dimension of the basalt. And just down the road you have the darker side of the geothermal story. If the Blue Lagoon is heaven, Gunukver is hell. It is a mud pot just a few minutes away. It is named after Gunna, a ghost who was so furious, so violent, that a priest had to trap her spirit in the boiling mud. I cover this story in detail in the other episode of Iceland Explained. You don't want to miss it. I swear. You can go to Gunukver and watch the earth screaming, the steam tearing out of the ground. That is the war of the gods I mentioned earlier. That is the raw, lethal power that the Blue Lagoon has domesticated. The Blue Lagoon sits in the middle of all this. It is a third space. It is neither fully wild nor fully urban. It is a cyborg landscape. The steam you breathe is the breath of the earth, but it is vented through the lungs of a turbine. The water that heals you is the waste that the earth tried to reject. We live in the Anthropocene, the age of human impact. Usually that story is depressing. It is a story of pollution. But here the industrial accident became a miracle. The evil lava became a sanctuary. Wellness from waste, beauty from a mistake. So put on the silica mask, float in the runoff, smell the sulfur, and tell yourself you are just at a spa. But you and I know better. You are swimming in the engine room of the earth. Just remember to wash your hair with conditioner afterwards. I cannot help you if you look like you fought a voltage socket. And if you want more stories from this region, from Golden Circle and maybe the South Coast, follow the channel. Hit the subscribe button against algorithms. For location intel for the wilder geothermal sites, I have curated records at icelandexplained.com. It is there to help you distinguish between the signal and the noise. The steam eats the distance.